I just got on Tinder and I noticed that people play a very funny game of hiding how they feel about you, right? For example, I will get a girl's number, she'll give me her Instagram, and she'll take a day to respond. Let me give you an example. And before, I used to also play that game where I wouldn't respond because they weren't responding and the relationship would fizzle out. But now what I do is I just tell them, hey, I noticed, you haven't responded. I like you. I want to get to know you. I'm serious about meeting people. Is that something you're down for or what you want? And what I've noticed is that the responses are different than before. When I used to play those games, I would get some results, but most of the relationship fizzled out. But now what is happening is that the women are apologizing and saying, oh, my fault, I didn't mean to, blah, 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 blah. What I'm starting to notice, people, is that people have unconsciously developed strategies to avoid getting rejected, to avoid getting pain. It shows more vulnerability, for example, than being an artist. For that, we're selling our paintings, people. Yeah, that's right. An announcement. This is a painting done by my student and guided by me using my painting method, and I corrected it. This is another one of Mu Dang, and both of these are $300. They're oil on panel and great quality oil, to be honest with you. It's my favorite person in the planet. I also have a Frida Kahlo painting right here. That one is 1,000. It's done by me. So because it's done by me, it's more expensive. It's watercolor with gouache. You can never find a watercolor on earth that looks like this, to be honest with you. This is another one. This one is for 200. It's a small watercolor, and this one is in pastels, and that it's done by me once again. And this one is for 1,000. It's pastels. It's got the chiaroscuro technique. It's the technique of Leonardo da Vinci. So if you guys want to purchase it, you'll see in the comment section where it says purchase my paintings. And thank you for supporting a starving artist, a Latino, a minority. Take care. Let's continue with the video. And the only way to combat people who are afraid of vulnerability is for you to be vulnerable yourself. Because what's really going on is that they are like a child afraid of the crowd. Like when I remember when it was my birthday, there was a lot of people in the living room, and I was in my room and I didn't want to come out because there was a lot of people, right? It's kind of similar to that, where a lot of people, where it looks like they're confident because they're being distant or too cool for school. But I want you to reinterpret it, because from a place of high self-esteem, what that says is not that there's something wrong with you, but that they're scared. And that's not just one person, it's a lot of people. A lot of people now are watching content on how to detach, on how to be distant, on how to act like you don't care, how to have coldness, how to have resting bitch face. But for what purposes? Clearly it's not to connect. Is to avoid getting disappointed, is to avoid pain. And what's happening is that it's actually having the opposite effect. It's making people lonelier. And when you get lonely, guess what happens? You get weaker. This is the strategy of the avoiding fucks. This is the strategy of people who most likely will end up alone. So today I'm gonna tell you guys why your vulnerability, opening up, having an open heart, getting people to open up, showing people that you like them, why is a strength. But before that, I want to give you guys a caveat to it. This strategy does not encourage you chasing people and opening up to people who show you nothing. This strategy, you only do this once. Let me give you as an example, right? So I was texting this girl. This was from last year in New York City. I was texting this girl, and we met on Hinge, actually. And she gave me her Instagram, but she took like 2 days to respond. But she was really into me. And I'm like, okay, all right, maybe she's distant. Okay. And then we set up a date. We hung out. But then it took her 2 days to respond after the date. And I'm like, before, I would just say, okay, like, let me act cool. Let me act like I don't care. But now I'm different. Now I don't care what you think of me. You know what I mean? So I told her, hey, hot girl, I like you, but I don't like this communication style. Like, I prefer more consistency. Before, I used to think that was needy. Before, I was told if I do that, it's actually weak. So what she said, my fault, my fault. You know what? It's because I'm not good with Instagram. Let me give you my number and we could talk on my number. Okay, cool. We did that. We went on another date and I sent her a text. Hey, I got home. How was your day? She didn't respond. The next morning, she usually wakes up late. So I sent her a text at 5 a.m. Be like, hey, good morning, motherfucker. Wake up. No response for 3 days. She texts me 3 days later. She's like, hey, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. And I'm like, look, man, look, listen, I like you. You are awesome. But this doesn't feel good. I don't, it doesn't feel good to know that you're saying this, but also doing that. So I'm just gonna walk away. I really like you, but I just don't like this whole dynamic. And it ended there. Okay. Now, what am I doing here? Well, first of all, I'm not playing these games. I'm not prolonging the situation. It's actually a sign of strength. Women, in my experience, actually like it when I'm this direct. In the past, the relationship used to just fade away. Now, more women stay often than leave because they respect my honesty. They respect I open up and say, hey, I like you, blah, blah, blah. But the key to it is this. This is the key, because all the needy motherfuckers now are jumping for joy. You gotta be willing to walk away. Vulnerability is only strong when you have the emotional capacity to moonwalk your ass back, when you're willing to walk away. Okay? So remember, there's an actual quote in Alcoholics Anonymous, and the first step in Alcoholics Anonymous is what? Admit that you are weak. And why is that? Well, because understanding your fundamental weakness will allow you to actually overcome any addiction. The reason why a lot of people become addicted and stay addicted to drugs is because they think they're going to be able to quit tomorrow, or that they think they're going to be able to quit next week. What happens with them is that they never quit because they're under the illusion that they're stronger than they really are. This is a principle that I want you guys to understand. You are weak. You do want to meet people. You do form attachments. You do like that person you just met. The problem here is not that you feel those intense emotions. The problem is that you use them as a way to regulate your emotion, and it actually pushes them away. But what I'm encouraging you to do is to realize that there is nothing wrong with expressing what you're looking for. The issue is that when people do express what they want, when people are vulnerable, they also are not willing to walk away. That's the problem with vulnerability. That's when it becomes weak. So understand that you do need people. You got to stop acting like you're strong, like you don't need people, like you're so cool for school. Hey, look, if the person is acting inconsistent, but you don't want to tell them because you come across as desperate, I don't care. Tell them that. If they think it's weak, they're the weak ones. And that's perfect, because now you're not wasting your time. You're not wasting your time with people who have emotion, who are emotionally unavailable. Right? So admit that you're weak. And it's okay. You shouldn't be shamed for expressing that you like the person, for expressing that you want to see them, for expressing that their inconsistency hurts you, for expressing that, hey, I'm gonna leave, but I'm gonna be sad that you're not in my life anymore. There's nothing wrong, because what happens is that your people have been shamed into coldness. And the reason why is because usually the people who are put in this standard are avoidant fucks. They're dominating the dating world. They're dominating the conversation. They're telling people to be like them. They're telling people to not communicate. They're telling people to be cold, to be silent. And that's causing a generation of people, making my job harder, well, actually easier, as a dating coach. And that's causing people to be more unhappy in their relationship. God told the Apostle Paul, and I want to say this quote. God told the Apostle Paul, when he had a thorn in his side, he said, "For when I am weak, then I am strong." God told him, "My grace is sufficient to you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." You got to understand, to find somebody truly healthy for you, you have to walk out with your heart open, but willing to walk away. That's the key. And it's really difficult. But you have to walk and be vulnerable. Be willing to get hurt. Take the risk of trusting people. take the risk of telling someone that you like them and be willing to get rejected. Because the consequences of that is that you surround yourself with people that are cold. Surround yourself with relationships where you can't communicate properly. And that is an actual weakness that is more weak. Because you can't have an open style of communication with them. That's really weak. You know, it's funny how, like, when people are inconsistent with me, I tell them how I feel. But like, hey, look, man, I'll be honest. I really do like you. I think you have a great personality. You got tickle bitties. I'm kidding. You got a great personality, you know, and I'm being genuine. I'm like, and I can see myself with you. But it's just this whole acting like this. I just don't like it. And you know what's funny? The people, you guys are truly underestimating how rare it is for someone to talk like that. People will kind of be shocked that you are being that honest with them. They'll be shocked because they're just not used to that type of communication. And what happens is that it actually doesn't turn them off. Secretly, they kind of admire you. They admire the openness. I remember with that girl that I told you about, the second day after her being super cold, bro, she fucking brought me a freaking food. She brought me cookies, and I could tell like she even tried to kiss me. I was like, nah, I'm good. Like, you know, not that I was like, oh my god, I'm so cool for school, but because I just didn't trust her, right? I was like, nah, you know, I didn't kiss her, but you could tell when someone wants to kiss. Anyways, but I didn't. But a lot of people feel bad when they act that way because they know that you're right. And the funny thing about this is that you calling them out on their bullshit increases attraction. Now, the problem here is that you can only do this twice. First time you say how you feel, hey, I don't like you, you're acting like this. It doesn't make me feel good. You know, like I feel, it makes me feel bad. Second time hey, look, you keep doing that. Like, I like you. Again, I don't like the way this feels. I'm telling you, the next time you do that, you leave in silence. You leave in silence. You don't even try to explain it. You leave in silence. It's just that simple. Now, next thing you want to be able to understand is that, remember, we have been shamed into being an avoidance. Why? Because of dating culture today. People want to look more. People want to brag how so many people like them. People don't want to express how they got played. I get played. I get played, and I'm not ugly. Like, I'm not ugly. Look. And that happens. People go ghost. And it's like, okay, what the hell's wrong? You could internalize it, or you could realize that, hey, look, man, it's just the way people are nowadays. Like they don't know you. They don't know your friends. They don't know people that you know. They don't owe you any respect. But if you buy into that, if you play their game, you're gonna turn into them. The way you deal with avoidance is direct and honest communication. And avoidant will find that extremely like intimidating to a certain extent, but also attractive. Why? Because remember, we attract opposites. If you're super direct with an avoidant and you say, look, I like you, blah, 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 a lot of the times it actually causes them to become more attracted to you. Because it's like a breath of fresh air. They secretly want to do that. You want to know why? Well, because they're inhibited. And when they see somebody who's uninhibited, they become attracted to them. You know, opposites attract each other. Right? They all attract each other. And the next thing is that you come across as more trustworthy. It is actually very true. I'm not kidding with you, man. It's actually very true. I've seen the difference, right? You come across as more trustworthy because you're putting your ego out there. You're putting yourself out there and say, hey, look, I like you, man. Like, if you think that's needy, it's okay. Like, you know, it's fine, but it was nice to know you. That's not needy. But we've been shamed to think that being vulnerable is needy. You know, because these people are weak inside. Nobody encourages them. They've been bullied out of being vulnerable because of life. Like I was hanging out with some of my old friends, and You know, like they haven't seen me in many years, and they were like, "Dude, you turned into a bitch. What's this sentimental shit? What's this you wanna cuddle with a girl?" And I'm like, "Hey man, call me a bitch. I don't give a fuck. You call me a bitch. I like that shit. I don't give a fuck." Right? And again, notice how that looks, right? I don't care how that looks. It's okay. You call me a pussy. That's fine. I'm the biggest pussy in the world. That's confidence. That's that's like you're putting it in their face and saying, "Hey, look at me in the eye." Oh, I know you can look at me in the eye. Look at me in the eye. Don't be afraid. No, I know you're afraid. Look at me in the eye, right? Like, hey, it's okay. Nothing's gonna happen. The way I see them, it's like, oh, but aren't you gonna reject? Aren't you acting needy? I'm like, no, it's okay. I like you, man. Don't worry. Yeah, there you go. You see, there's nothing wrong with that. Come here, man. Give me a hug. Like you're bringing them out of the closet like a hot gay guy bringing out a secretly gay guy. Like, come here, Poppy. He's like, no, I'm not straight. I'm straight. No, I know you want to. Must be tough for secretly gay guys, all right? And that's it's actually in and this is honestly has improved my relationships, right? Because it allows me to connect with people more. And it's actually a strength because when you're vulnerable, you're able to connect with people more, and that makes you stronger, right? And you come across as more authentic, authentic, more authentic and more real. You leverage your weaknesses into a strength because so many people are afraid to show their weak side. So many people are afraid to come out and tell people how they feel. But the problem is that people just misconstrue this with neediness that also comes with not willing to walk away. There's nothing wrong with being needy and creepy. Just be willing to walk away, motherfucker, because that's how you scare people. Right? If they walk away because of this, look, man, let them. Just let them. They're not ready. They're looking for a more opaque relationship. They're not looking for a transparent relationship. They're not hot. They're not cool. They're just afraid. And time will show you that you're right. Time will show you that what I'm telling you is correct. The moment doesn't because they're shining, because they're distant. But remember, everything looks glamorous at a distance until you get close. Everyone looks more attractive and younger at a distance until you get closer. There is no pride in this. There's no sense of honor and not and being shitty communicators and fronting like you're confident, like you have options when in reality, you're just afraid to open up. And that's how I want you guys to see it. Don't take it personal. Yeah, some people are ugly. Okay, whatever, right? But don't take the fact that they got turned off because you opened up a negative, because that's really, you're strong. Someone is gonna see that and see you open up, and they're gonna help you. Then they're gonna open up and help you. And this symbiotic relationship of both of you guys helping each other creates an upward spiral that creates love, that makes people want to be there for you, and that it creates a Christmas tree, right? But this is the road to happy relationships. This is the road to satisfying relationships. There's nothing to envy, right? The next thing is that vulnerability, right? I'm gonna put it right here. Your vulnerability exposes their weaknesses. Because when you express emotions, express how you feel verbally, or express an emotion or express a negative thing, something that you feel vulnerable, people have to then reciprocate. If they don't reciprocate, that's a sign of weakness also. If they reciprocate your weakness with them expressing their weaknesses as well, it's actually a positive thing. And this is why evil people actually do this, just to get somebody's weaknesses. That's why it really does work. But this is how you create that upward spiral. And eventually you both will fall in love, deeply in love. But when you're dealing with those avoidant fucks out there in culture, those people will have to experience a physical ailment, a physical discapacitation for them to finally reach out and be vulnerable. They have to experience loss, feel death at the door, feel the reality that they are weak so that they can finally look for help. When I mean help, I mean connecting with other humans. Because the thing is this, when people are not connected with death, I think the reason why this has happened to me like this is because let me get my chair, is because I've had a lot of experiences with almost dying or just physical stuff, the last year. And it kind of like, it made me think about life a lot, made me think about death a lot. I've seen the consequences of my actions. I've seen myself like fall deeply into an abyss of hedonism and darkness. And it made me realize that I really am fucked up on the inside, right? And I've been just avoiding that. And I've seen, like, the last year, I've dipped really hard in life in terms of a negative state of mind. But this realization, this sensing of how like bad things have gotten, it actually made me stronger because it connected. So don't see your weakness as a weakness. See it as a way to test a person's character. See it as a way to test a person's maturity level. And see pride in that. Hey, look, I know you don't like me, but at least I'm able to feel emotions. At least I'm willing to feel, at least I'm willing to reach out to want to connect with someone. There's no shame in that. I want to reverse this dynamic. Be the one that tells them you like them. No. You could show them through your nonverbal cues, right? Don't tell them verbally, right? But if they're acting inconsistent, if they're doing something you don't like, don't do it non-verbally. Do it verbally, directly, and be honest. And like I said, give them 2 shots. If the person is not opening up emotionally, do it yourself. Let them do it and see whether or not they'll follow through and mirror you opening up yourself, right? So let's summarize this right here, people. Okay. Essentially, what I want you guys to understand. Let's fix the white balance here. Auto. Okay. Boom. All right. So what I want you to understand is that, one, weakness is not weakness. I don't know why I put that, but weakness is not weakness. Vulnerability is not weakness. Okay. Open up to someone once. No, my fault, people. Sometimes avoid getting pain. Okay. So remember, admit that you're weak. You are weak. All right. You do need someone. That's why you're dating. That's why you get with people, because there's a part of you that feels like you need a relationship. And that is true. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with expressing that you need extra hugs. Nothing wrong with expression that you need this and need that. Communicate that and use that communication and that conflict as a test to test your character and test their character and see whether or not you're both able to handle conflict and come to a resolution, right? And remember, people are being shamed into being more avoidant. People are shamed into coldness. This is fueled by avoidant people. Tell them to go fuck themselves. Okay? This strategy only works if you're willing to walk away. If not, then the neediness is really something to be shameful about. You can't, it has to be, you have to be willing to walk away, people. If not, it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. Okay? By you expressing your vulnerability and being open, you come across as trustworthy. This is like hieroglyphics, man. Uninhibited, which is really attractive, and authentic, which makes you much more trustworthy. And if your openness gets them to feel awkward, well, remember, it exposes their weakness. How they react to your openness of emotion is a reflection of their character. If they get turned off, don't say, oh my God, I was too needy. No, it was just that they were avoidant. They are afraid of opening up. The next thing is that let them walk away if they find your neediness too much. Don't be shamed into being cold, right? You have your needs and you have every right to demand that your needs be met if you date someone. You have every right to do that. If they don't want to do that, there's nothing wrong with you and there's nothing wrong with them. You just have to find someone. Someone is out there. And they'll see this vulnerability as something that they find as strength. Remember, people fall in love with your vulnerable side. If you have no vulnerability, your connections are just fucking fragile. They're not good. All right. Listen, man, if you guys want to learn more about this, check out my courses, man. I just created a new one, The Feminine Woman. It's a course that I created for women who want to develop more of the masculine side without losing the feminine side. It's a self-help course for women, okay? It's really beautiful. Check out my other courses, the Psychological Game of Attraction, a course for women who are in relationships, and Emotional Mastery. It's a course that I created for people who want to master their emotions. Click on the description down below to work with Father Alex confidentially, and I'll see you guys inside. Take care. Bye-bye.